This is my first attempt to make a video tutorial, and we're going to be building a Tardis in Google Sketchup. Here's an example of one I made earlier, and this is what we're going to be building. So first of all, we need to start off by creating a new file, and we need to set the preference for this to be the template to be an architectural design in millimeters. Okay, I'm going to leave this human figure in here as a reference for comparing to make sure we're making it the right size. As regards reference material, we're going to be using these plans from 1983.2 technical manual, and although we only have vertical dimensions in here, I have printed off these diagrams, these two diagrams here, to scale, so my horizontal dimensions I'll be measuring from the actual printed off scaled diagrams. We may be rounding off some of these because I don't think it's any point in going to decimal points on these some of these dimensions. We might be rounding things like 381 to 380 and 88.9 to 90. And also we're going to be using, because the TARDIS is from 1983, we're going to be using some photographs of Peter Davison's TARDIS from the internet as reference for seeing what some of the details like. Okay, right, so into SketchUp we need to start by creating a rectangle which needs to be 1360 by 1360, and this diagram says it's 76.2, but we're just going to make it 76. So we need to get the push-pull tool, start to pull it in the right direction, and then enter the dimension of 76. We now need to make this base into a group, so edit menu. Well, first of all we've got to select the whole the objects and then create a group. We are now going to create some guidelines for helping us position the 4 columns of the TARDIS in the 4. Okay, and we're going to use a tape measure tool for that. We're going to make these guidelines 210 millimeters in from the edge. And these 4 corners here where the guidelines intersect is where we're going to be positioning the 4 columns. To start to make the 4 columns, we need to switch the camera view to the top view and then zoom in on this corner here and start with the pencil tool. Start at the intersection of these 2 guides and start to draw a horizontal line of 140. It needs to go up by 20, across by 20, up by 120, in by 20, up by 20, across by 120, down by 20, across by 20, and then finally join the 2 ends up to make the cross section. We've left these cutouts here because there is a radius detail we're going to put in there, and to do that we're going to need the circle tool, which will snap to the intersection of these 2 lines, and we need to make this 15 diameter, or sorry 15 radius, and same again, and same again. We don't bother with this corner because this is what we're going to use to position the pillar in the right place, and it's on the inside of the TARDIS anyway, so we wouldn't see it. So we need to erase the lines we don't need, which is these internal lines. and that leaves us with the general cross section of the pillar. We need to select all these objects here, and we need to make this into a component, and we're going to give it a name of pillar. We now need to zoom out and make 3 copies of this cross section, one at each corner of an intersection of these guides. So if we select the move tool, hold the control key down and move it, we start to make a copy of that component. And you can see here the dotted line indicates it's moving along the red axis. And as you can see, it's the wrong way around. We need to get this corner on the opposite corner here, and to do that we need to flip it along the red axis. Now if we reference this corner as for moving it, continue to move it on the red axis until it snaps to the intersection. And now we need to create the other 2 pillars down here, control key and drag it down. This time you can see we're moving along the green axis, so we need to flip this along green, reference the corner and snap it to this intersection. And finally the 4th pillar, as you can see we're moving back along the red axis, so again we need to flip this along the red, reference this corner for the move and snap it to that corner there. Right, we need to go back into our ISO view, and these are the 4 pillars, cross sections in position on our base. If we double click on the first one we created, this outline box means that we can now edit that shape, and we need to push pull tool to start to pull the pillar into shape from there. And you can see, because the other pillars are components, they're all doing the same, and this needs to be 2260. If we zoom out, pan down, you can now see we have something that looks like Tardis base and the 4 pillars for the corners of the Tardis. If we go back to the blueprint, you can see there's this little feature on the top of each pillar. You can see it better on here. Here we go, and we're going to create that next. So back into SketchUp again, and we need to go back to our top view. And at the moment the camera is in perspective view, which is why the pillars look splayed. We need to change the camera view to parallel, and then we can see the pillar straight on from the top. So what we now need to do is recreate this cross section of the pillar, but in a smaller size in the middle. So again we start by making the guidelines we need. Sorry, don't need that. The tape measure tool. I make a guide 20mm in, and same again, 20mm in. Right, back to the pencil tool and draw our shape. This wants to go out as 120. Sorry, escape that. Edit, undo. That should have been 100. Up 20, across 20, up 80, across 20, up 20, across 80, down 20, across 20, and down to join the 2 corners together. Now I need to create these radiuses as we did before. Circle tool, snap to these intersection of these two lines, and again make this 15. Same again. Same again. And we now need to, again as before, remove the lines we don't need, just to leave us with our cross section with this little top kind of stump on top of the pillar. So there we've got the gate there, we have our cross section. Change the camera view back to the ISO view again. Zoom out a bit, pan down a bit, and there we can see the cross section we've just made. So we need the push pull tool, start to pull it in the direction we want, and we want it to be a height of 40. Now we've got that, we no longer need these guidelines, so we can delete those. And if we click off of the item, then the bounding box disappears. And if we zoom out, pan up, we can now see that we have a Tardis base with the 4 corner pillars. We'll end the tutorial at this point, and the next tutorial, part of the tutorial, will start making the side panels.